Okay, so you sent us your sources on Lahore, the heart of Pakistan.
Yeah.
And wow, what an incredible history and a really vibrant present-day city.
It really is.
We've been looking over this document.
Right.
It's simply titled Lahore.pdf.
Okay.
And it's clear why this city is so significant in the region.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to get a solid understanding of what makes Lahore tick. Its
Okay.
historical roots, its key areas, the
Right.
culture, and its economic engine.
Of course.
All without getting bogged down in endless details because this document is packed.
Sure.
So we've pulled out what we think are the real nuggets that are going to give you the most insightful overview.
Sounds good.
So let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Where exactly is Lahore situated geographically?
Well, Lahore is located in the northeastern part of Punjab province,
Okay.
pretty near the border with India.
Okay.
And the document points out that it's situated on the Ravi River,
Right.
which has been crucial to the city throughout its history.
The Ravi River.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more than just a line on a map, right?
Right.
You can imagine how fundamental that would have been to the earliest settlements there
Absolutely.
and for the city's development over time.
Totally.
A reliable water source for agriculture,
Yeah.
essential for trade routes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think about how important rivers have always been.
Oh, yeah. Always.
Yeah, for civilization's development.
They're the foundation. I mean,
Yeah.
the Ravi would provided resources,
Right.
facilitated movement of people and goods,
Right.
and it would played a huge role in shaping Lahore's growth.
Its enduring importance.
Absolutely.
Now let's delve into the history.
Okay.
This is a city that's witnessed the rise and fall of empires.
Yeah.
The document mentions its origins under Hindu, Buddhist,
Right.
and then Islamic rule.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge stretch of time.
It is.
So where do we see those early imprints on the city today?
Well, it is a very layered history
Yeah.
because of its strategic location. Lahore has always been a focal point
Right.
for various powers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might not see as many physical remnants
Okay.
from the Hindu and Buddhist periods,
Right.
but they definitely would have influenced the culture,
Yeah.
the foundation upon which the later empires built.
I see.
The Islamic periods, especially the Mughals,
Yeah.
they left much more visible marks,
Okay.
particularly in the architecture
Right.
and urban layout,
Interesting.
which the later Mughal rulers would then build upon.
So then that leads us to the Mughal era
Okay.
from 1526 to 1857.
A long time.
The document calls it a golden age.
Yeah.
And I think that conjures up images of breathtaking architecture, a flourishing of the arts.
Absolutely.
Emperors Akbar and Shah Jahan are specifically mentioned.
Right.
What made this period so significant for Lahore?
Well, I think it's really the tangible impact their rule had on the city that you can still see today.
Uh-huh.
Akbar was known for his progressive policies, and he really supported architecture and the arts.
Right.
He initiated the construction of the Lahore fort,
As we see it today.
largely as we see it today, yeah.
Wow.
Shah Jahan, of course, is famous for the Taj Mahal,
Right.
but he also added a lot to the fort,
Okay.
including the Sheesh Mahal.
I see.
So their vision transformed Lahore into a magnificent imperial capital. It became a real hub for culture, for trade, and for administration.
And they really laid the groundwork for its future prominence.
I think so.
Then we jump forward to the British colonial period.
Okay.
The document notes the introduction of modern infrastructure and institutions.
Mm-hmm.
This is a completely different kind of influence shaping the city.
For sure.
Can you give us an example of that?
Absolutely.
How about a lasting impact?
The British made big changes to urban planning
Okay.
and governance.
Okay.
They established things like Punjab University in 1882,
Right.
which became the cornerstone of higher education in the region.
Yeah.
And it continues to be a major institution today.
Wow.
Their focus on infrastructure led to railway networks,
Oh, okay.
connecting Lahore to other parts of the subcontinent.
Right.
This fundamentally altered trade
Oh.
and transportation,
Yeah.
and it really contributed to Lahore's economic growth.
So then finally, post-independence in 1947,
Mm-hmm.
Lahore becomes this pivotal cultural and political hub
Yeah,
for this newly formed Pakistan.
right.
It sounds like its importance was only amplified.
It was the new era.
Yeah. The partition of India was a transformative event.
Right.
For many people, it was traumatic.
Of course.
Lahore was right there on the new border.
Right.
So it became a crucial center for refugees.
Right.
And it played a huge role in establishing the new nation's identity, both culturally and politically. It really solidified its place as a major intellectual and artistic heartland for Pakistan.
What stands out to you from that overview of the history?
Well, I'm struck by how each successive era
Didn't just erase what came before it. It kind of built on top of it.
It's like layers.
Layers, yeah, creating this rich tapestry of influences.
I can almost imagine walking through the city and seeing echoes of those different periods side by side.
You can.
It makes you think about the less visible impacts, too.
Absolutely.
The social customs, the traditions.
Yeah.
That must have been shaped by centuries of different rulers.
Right.
Now let's move on to the different key areas of Lahore. The document breaks it down into distinct neighborhoods, each with its own character. Let's start with the walled city.
Okay.
Old Lahore.
Right.
Or Androon Lahore. It sounds like this is the very core of its history.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's the historical nucleus.
Wow.
It's where you find centuries of history within the boundaries that you can still kind of see.
Wow.
It's home to iconic landmarks like the Lahore Fort, which is recognized by UNESCO for its Mughal architecture and historical importance, and the Badshahi Mosque, one of the largest mosques in the world, a real testament to Mughal grandeur.
And what about the gates?
Oh, yeah.
Delhi Gate? Body Gate?
Right.
These are remnants of the ancient city walls.
They are.
You can almost picture them controlling the flow of people and trade centuries ago.
Totally.
And then there's the Shahi Hammam, which is a beautifully restored Mughal-era bathhouse.
It's gorgeous.
That must offer such a glimpse into daily life in that period. And these aren't just relics, right?
No.
These were integral to the city's functioning.
They were.
Yeah, the gates were key for security and for trade regulation.
Right.
And the Shahi Hammam wasn't just for hygiene.
Right.
It was a social space. It was community space.
Yeah.
It's amazing how they've been preserved and how we can connect with the past in that way.
It's really cool.
And then within these ancient walls, you have the vibrant food street.
Oh, yeah.
Renowned for its traditional Lahori cuisine. What a juxtaposition of old and new.
Absolutely.
What does that tell us about Lahore today?
Well, it shows that Lahore can retain its historical character while also embracing modern life.
Yeah.
You can just imagine the energy of the crowds and the smells of the food in this ancient setting.
Wow.
It's a sensory experience that connects the past and the present.
I love that.
It shows how those traditions are still thriving.
That's amazing.
In a contemporary context.
Okay, so let's contrast that sharply with Gulberg.
Okay.
The document describes it as modern and upscale.
Right.
The heart of Lahore's business district.
It is.
We're talking Liberty Market, Alum Road with its high-end restaurants and cafes, Gaddafi Stadium, the largest cricket stadium. This sounds like a completely different urban landscape.
It does.
What kind of economic activity defines Gulberg?
It really represents Lahore's contemporary economic dynamism.
Okay.
It's a hub for a huge range of businesses.
Okay.
From major corporations to little boutiques.
Right.
It's got everything.
Wow.
Liberty Market is a major shopping destination. And Alum Road is all about dining and socializing.
Right.
So it's key to the city's retail and hospitality sectors.
Wow.
It's where modern commerce and leisure intersect.
And then there's DHA,
right?
Defense Housing Authority,
yeah.
Posh residential and commercial areas, wide roads,
right.
modern housing,
yep.
and tons of international brands.
Sure.
It almost sounds like a self-contained enclave.
It kind of is.
What impact does an area like this have on the city?
DHA is an example of modern urban planning.
Okay.
With a real focus on infrastructure and amenities for a more affluent population.
Right.
The international brands show a connection to global commerce.
Interesting.
And consumer trends.
Yeah.
Areas like this contribute a lot to real estate and construction.
Right.
And they attract investment.
Makes sense.
But it also raises questions about equitable development
Interesting.
and access to resources for everyone in the city.
The document mentions phases 1 through 9, each with its own commercial areas and parks.
Yeah.
And Y Block Market.
Right.
A hub for fashion and cafes. This sounds very organized.
Yes.
Almost suburban, even though it's in a major urban center.
But the phased development and all the green spaces and the planned commercial areas give DHA a different character. It's a different lifestyle compared to the more densely populated areas
Yeah.
of the city.
Okay, next up is Model Town.
Okay.
Well-planned, green, with these distinctive circular roads and tons of parks.
It's lovely.
This sounds very focused on creating a pleasant living environment.
It is.
What's the story behind that?
Model Town is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because it represents an earlier model of planned urban development.
I see.
With a big focus on green spaces.
Okay.
And that self-contained community feel.
Right.
The circular road layout was a deliberate choice.
Okay.
To create a more organized and aesthetically pleasing residential area.
Right.
And that's highlighted by all its parks.
Right.
Like the huge Model Town Park.
Wow. So Johar Town is described as the fastest growing area.
It is.
Home to Emporium Mall, one of Pakistan's largest malls.
It's gigantic.
And the Expo Center, Lahore.
Right.
This really speaks to Lahore's ongoing expansion.
It does.
And its role as a commercial hub.
Right. The rapid growth of Johar Town shows how the city is constantly developing and how it can accommodate these huge commercial and residential projects.
It sounds like it.
The Emporium Mall and the Expo Center show how important it is as a center for retail, trade, exhibitions, all kinds of large-scale events.
Really reflects that economic vitality.
It does.
Okay. Then we have Barria Town, private, gated, luxurious living, and an Eiffel Tower replica.
Yeah.
That detail really jumps out.
I know.
What does that tell us about Lahore's urban landscape?
I think it shows a big trend towards these large-scale, privately developed housing societies that offer a lot of amenities and that self-contained lifestyle. The Eiffel Tower replica is definitely eye-catching, but it also shows how the developers want to create a really distinctive and aspirational living environment. They also have the Grand Jamia Mosque there.
Oh, wow.
Which is one of the largest in Pakistan.
Wow.
So that shows how important religious institutions are within these communities.
Interesting. Okay, the cantonment area, military-controlled, strict security, tree-lined avenues, elite schools, but also Fortress Stadium for shopping and entertainment, and the Lahore Polo Club.
It's there.
That's a really interesting blend of military presence and recreational activities.
It is.
What does that administration do to the area?
Well, the cantonment area always has this distinct and well-maintained character.
Okay.
It's because of the military administration. They really prioritize order, security, and planning.
Okay.
And then they have the leisure facilities like Fortress Stadium and the Polo Club. So it's not just for military personnel. It's for civilians, too.
Interesting.
It's a real community. Alongside the military functions.
Okay, so Ravi Town and Shadara near the Ravi River.
Right there.
Bringing us back to that original geographical anchor.
Full circle.
Right.
Yeah.
This area has the tomb of Jahangir and Noor Jahan's tomb.
It does.
Such a direct and powerful link.
It is.
To that Mughal era. What do these sites tell us about the Mughals?
These sites are really valuable historically. The Tomb of Jahangir isn't just an example of great architecture. It gives us insights into the emperor's reign and his personal life.
Interesting.
Noor Jahan's tomb is the resting place of this powerful empress. And it shows us the role of women in Mughal society.
Wow.
So these tombs are more than just aesthetically pleasing. They're tangible connections to the lives of these Mughal rulers. We can really learn from them.
And there's Allama Iqbal Town, named for Pakistan's national poet. It's described as this bustling residential and commercial area.
It is.
With Moon Market and Gulshaniakul Park. The name itself suggests this strong cultural connection. Does that naming influence the area's identity?
Naming a town after such a revered figure like Allama Iqbal, whose poetry and philosophy were so important to Pakistan's creation, it really gives the area that sense of heritage. So you would think that this community values literature, poetry, and the ideals of national identity.
That makes sense.
That Iqbal represents, so it probably influences their cultural events and their educational priorities.
Wow, so finally Faisal Town and Garden Town. These sound like mature residential neighborhoods.
They do.
Well-developed, established educational institutions, shopping centers.
It sounds like it.
They probably have a longer history
They do.
as planned residential sectors compared to some of those newer developments, the schools, the colleges, the shopping hubs.
It seems like they have a stable, mature community infrastructure.
That makes sense.
It's a different residential experience
than the rapidly expanding areas.
Absolutely.
Or the more exclusive areas that we've been talking about.
It's a different vibe.
When you look at all these different areas, it's like Lahore functions as a collection of distinct identities.
It does.
Yeah.
Contributing to this really complex and interesting city.
It's like a vibrant ecosystem.
It is.
Right?
Each neighborhood plays a role
in
the city's overall functioning and identity.
Okay, so let's explore what the document calls the cultural and social heart.
Sounds good.
Of Lahore.
Okay.
It's no surprise that it's considered the cultural capital of Pakistan.
It's not.
What makes that title so fitting?
Well, there's just so many cultural activities and institutions in Lahore.
Yeah.
The document mentions all the festivals, the concerts, the literary events. Yeah. They happen all the time.
Wow.
So it's a very dynamic and engaged cultural scene.
It sounds like
it caters to so many different interests.
And the key cultural attractions are really impressive.
They are.
The Lahore Museum, with artifacts from the Indus Valley Civilization and the Mughal Empire. The Alhambra Arts Council for theater, art, and music.
Yeah.
The Shalimar Gardens.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Classic Mughal Paradise Garden.
Yeah.
And Data Darbar, a Sufi shrine. This is an incredible spectrum.
It is.
You have ancient history, contemporary arts, imperial grandeur, and spiritual significance.
Yeah.
How do all of these different institutions contribute to Lahore's identity?
It's really the breadth of cultural expression that's so significant.
Yeah.
The Lahore Museum preserves and showcases the region's past, connecting the city to millennia of history.
Right.
Then you have the Alhambra Arts Council, which fosters contemporary art, and it's a platform for cultural exchange.
Right.
The Shalimar Gardens are a testament to Mughal artistry and engineering.
Amazing.
And Data Darbar is a major center for Sufi traditions, which have really influenced the cultural and spiritual landscape.
Wow.
So together, they create a really rich and multifaceted cultural identity.
For Lahore. Lahore is also highlighted as an educational powerhouse.
It is.
With top-tier universities. Like Punjab University, the oldest and largest public university.
Huge.
LUMS.
Right.
A really well-regarded private institution.
Yeah.
In UET, a leading engineering university.
It is.
It really sounds like Lahore is key in intellectual development and shaping future leaders.
Right. These institutions are really important for intellectual advancement, and they contribute a lot to Pakistan's human capital. That's amazing.
They show a real commitment to preserving knowledge and fostering innovation and preparing future generations for all sorts of different fields.
So moving on to the economic driver.
Okay.
The document lists key industries, textile and garment manufacturing, IT and software development, real estate and construction, retail and trade,
of course,
and food and hospitality.
Right.
That's a surprisingly diverse economic foundation.
It is.
Are there any sectors that are really taking off?
Well, the diversity is definitely a strength.
Yeah.
Traditional sectors like textiles are still important.
Right.
But IT and software development have seen huge growth in recent years.
Wow.
They're attracting investment and creating jobs.
Yeah.
Real estate and construction are also big because of the growing population and all the urbanization.
Right.
But like a lot of major cities, Lahore faces some challenges too. Okay, like what?
Like making sure infrastructure keeps up with growth.
Right.
And making sure economic practices are sustainable.
Interesting.
Across all these different sectors.
Okay, so finally let's discuss connectivity.
Okay.
And infrastructure.
Sounds good.
The document highlights the Lahore Metrobus, the Orange Line Metro train, which is Pakistan's first metro system.
It is.
The Allama Iqbal International Airport.
Right.
And this extensive network of motorways and highways. It sounds like Lahore is well-equipped.
It is.
To be this major metropolis.
It is.
What has that development of the metro system done?
Well, efficient transportation is key.
Right.
For a city of this size and importance, the Metrobus and the Orange Line have really improved urban mobility.
Okay.
They offer faster and more affordable public transit for so many people.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's reduced travel times, eased traffic, and it's improved access to jobs, to education, to services for a lot of residents.
That's great.
The airport and the highways help connect Lahore to the rest of the country and to the world, which is crucial for its economy and its society.
So all of this raises the question, why is Lahore called the heart of Pakistan?
I think it's the synergy of all these elements. Its deep history gives it this strong sense of identity. All the different neighborhoods show its capacity to accommodate all these different lifestyles and economic activities. The vibrant cultural scene makes it a dynamic place to live. The educational institutions drive intellectual growth and innovation. And its economy and infrastructure lay the foundation for continued development and prosperity.
It's not just any one thing.
Right.
It's the interplay of all these things.
It is.
You have the history, the diverse urban landscape, the thriving culture, the education, the economic vitality, all supported by this modern infrastructure that gives Lahore its character and its role within Pakistan.
And it's a place where tradition and progress are constantly interacting.
It's fascinating.
It is.
So Lahore emerges as this tapestry woven from ancient history and rapid development. It's a city of distinct neighborhoods, each one adding something unique.
Totally.
It's a cultural hub.
It is.
An educational powerhouse. And a significant economic engine.
For sure.
All connected by this growing infrastructure network.
It's amazing.
So you can see why it's called the heart of Pakistan.
It makes sense.
It's a city brimming with energy, a place where the past resonates alongside the ambitions of the present.
It does.
Considering this snapshot of Lahore, what do you find most compelling?
Oh, that's a good question.
Is it the Mughal heritage?
I don't know.
The drive for progress?
It's hard to say.
Or that vibrant cultural spirit?
They're all so fascinating.
And what does that tell you about the forces that are shaping Pakistan today?
That is something to think about.
It is.